Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today we're going to talk about Starpeak Energy Transition Corp again. And this is the SPAC that is taking STEM Inc. public. I think there is a lot going on with the stock right now, and one of the reasons why I think that I am going to continue to try and purchase some additional shares before they complete their merger, which now, as of today, Starpeak has officially finalized their S4, which is the form that they have used to say that we are ready to go public pending our last vote. So in our last video, when we looked at the the 8K, it mentioned that there is the possibility or the capability to have a shareholder vote. That vote has now been released today. So if you were a shareholder as of March 4th, 2021, you are able to vote on this potential merger under the original proposed transaction for Starpeak Energy and STEM. Some of the things I want to highlight just from this press release, some of the capabilities and things that we can talk about here is that you are able to vote either online or you can call them. Personally, if this is the first time that you have ever gone through a SPAC merger or any form of voting through your broker of choice, they should be sending you an email. I have never received a call, and you should not receive a call. So if you do not answer that. However, you should receive an email. You should be able to vote online. I am by no means going to provide investment advice, but obviously, as this being a decent piece of my portfolio, I do have every intention of purchasing additional shares and in the hopes of this merger going through. So I will be voting for the merger, and I anticipate that those initial investors who got in at that $10 share price, which is many people who have millions of dollars in there, I anticipate that they will vote yes as well. So that being said, I do want to highlight some important items here. The people who will have the capability to vote are stockholders as of March 4th. Again, I had earlier mentioned that all of the special voting will be capable all the way up until April 26th. At that point in time, on April 27th, they will have a meeting with all of the important people. You're talking board members as well as the C-suite executives to hold a virtual special meeting. I do have every intention of joining that as well to see if anything in particular is said or anything exciting. So all of this information is important to note because, again, pending all of the merger voting and that special meeting, they anticipate that they will close shortly thereafter. Generally speaking, after a meeting is completed, it will close within 1 to 2 weeks. At that point in time, STPK will then become STEM Inc., or ticker symbol STEM. So all of that being said, one of the things that we can talk about from a potential catalyst perspective, as you can see the stock price currently sitting around $25.73, some of the potential catalysts for STEM, aside from their complete market dominance, is the fact that this Wednesday, again, today is Monday, March 29th, but this Wednesday we do anticipate having President Biden is going to be announcing some details surrounding the infrastructure plan. We do believe that there is going to be a significant piece of the infrastructure plan talking about clean energy, and STEM is definitely one of the leaders in effective power grid and clean energy. And they're even going to talk about some of the electrical grid going forward and as part of that announcement. So let's see some of the financials that we can look at for STEM and how this may affect them. As we look at how this is going to affect them, I did want to highlight, if you go to the STEM website and go to investors, you will come to this page. We have looked at the original investor presentation. We have also looked at the Analyst Day presentation from January 25th. Last week, they did proceed with the Simmons Energy Conference on March 22nd. The only difference between this presentation, which I will share today, and the Analyst Day is 2 slides, one of which I will show you now. So as you can see, we've got up here on the screen the STEM key metrics and seasonality. This seasonality piece is really where we've seen for the first time this slide or this information. Now, don't get me wrong, at no point in time do we expect them to grow or triple, quadruple their revenue from last year, all spread out from Q1 to Q4. We noted in the last video that we talked about, hey, they have this huge growth from a sales perspective, largely going to be driven by the 40 or so salespeople and sales engineers that they are hiring. So all of that being said, this is somewhat expected. This also highlights that we're not going to be getting the Q1 numbers when they initially go public. So for earnings perspective, I anticipate the first one we'll see is Q2, although I could be wrong. I anticipate we'll see the Q2 earnings though, which again would be the as of June date. So the reason why that is important is because that 15% number that we're going to be looking for of the 147 million, we will need to see north of $20 million in sales to be between that 5 to 15%. I think anything less than 20 million in revenue is going to be a big deal, because that means that they're not nearly on the front end of making sure that they hit that total number going forward, which again, we see some of this information over here of being that expected, this one 147 million. So I think that we need to be somewhere north of that 15% mark. I think 20% is really what we're going to be looking, with the preference being all the way up on the upper side of both of these of 25% of that 147 million. But I think that $20 to $25 million mark is really going to be what we're looking for from that Q2 number. Keep in mind, this is revenue. It's important to note that this contracted backlog means that you have companies that have already signed paper saying that they will buy the product or service, and that there's a penalty associated with backing out. This is different than what we've seen with a lot of other SPACs, where they say we have these sales, they build it up. I'm thinking Workhorse in particular, or even Nikola. Both of those have had some pretty hard falls. Not even Workhorse, I apologize, but Ride under Lordstown Motors. But they've had these hit pieces come out against them, and those were proven to be true. What we're looking at here is actual real contracted backlog, also known as bookings. What we're looking at right now is the revenue, which is what is important for GAAP accounting, generally accepted accounting principles. This is what we're going to be looking at, and this is where all the eyes are going to be on Q2. Keep in mind that this is one catalyst, I think, is the Q2 earnings. The big one, though, is going to be Q3. The second thing that I really want to highlight is the capability of this company to continue growing past this calendar year. What we're looking at is to go from that revenue of 36 million, which was finalized, to that 147 million, and we need the capabilities of the sales and the implementation group to really drive that. So this is all what we're going to be looking at going forward. I really want to highlight that that vote is happening. If you have the capability to vote, please do so, and that is not financial advice, but I do want you to actively use the rights that you are provided as a shareholder or as a part owner of the future company. So all this in mind, I'm going to continue to watch this stock. I'm going to continue to cover it, and we'll talk about it in the Discord, which the link to that is in the description down below. And if you find yourself wanting to learn more about this company or other services and SPACs, please feel free to like and subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for checking it out, and I will talk to you later.